the 39th year celebration of the United States Senate being covered by C-SPAN 2. I've come to the floor countless times since my first term in the United States Senate beginning in 1981. It's a privilege to represent Iowans in my home state here in the greatest deliberative body in the world. For more than 4 decades and counting, I've joined my colleagues here in this chamber to debate public policy, shed light on wrongdoing, and celebrate historic milestones. I've cast votes on behalf of Iowans, given my assent or dissent to nominations and legislation on matters both foreign and domestic, on issues from A to Z. For a period of time spanning more than 27 years, I held the longest voting streak in Senate history. My 8,927 consecutive roll call votes ended in November 2020 when I was quarantined for exposure to COVID-19. My good friend from Maine, Senator Susan Collins, now holds the baton as she continues her unbroken voting streak since she was sworn into office in 1997. During the 116th Congress and now the 119th Congress, I'm honored to serve as Senate President Pro Tem. From this leadership position, I open the Senate daily, lead the Pledge of Allegiance, and often take the opportunity to deliver brief remarks during what we call morning business. Since 1986, every minute of the people's business conducted here in the Senate chamber has been made available live to the public. From memorable moments including televising 16 Supreme Court nominations, debates, and 3 presidential impeachment trials, to subjects that are often very mundane. Thanks to C-SPAN 2, this public service allows our constituents to see the swearing in of newly elected members, watching all-night sessions during votaramas, and tune in to history being made. Speaking of the historic moments, it was 39 years ago today, June 2, when C-SPAN 2 started its gavel-to-gavel coverage of the United States Senate. That was 7 years after C-SPAN started broadcasting live coverage of the U.S. House of Representatives in 1979. At that time, I was a member of the House and appreciated C-SPAN's mission to foster civic engagement and let the sunshine in on the people's business. So today, I wish C-SPAN 2 a happy birthday and thanks those who are dedicated to its mission to bring the people's business to the people of our country. C-SPAN does not receive 1 penny of taxpayer dollars, is funded primarily from satellite and cable providers. Senator Klobuchar of Minnesota and I have introduced a bipartisan resolution to recognize C-SPAN 2 and the public service it provides the American people through its live, nonpartisan coverage. Our resolution calls for television providers, including streaming services, to make C-SPAN public affairs program available to all Americans in real time on all platforms. For tens of millions of Americans who have cut the cord and get their content from streaming services, they should not be cut off from the civic content made available by C-SPAN. C-SPAN gives our constituents a front row seat to the legislative branch, providing unfiltered access to debates and deliberations that impact their lives and their livelihoods. C-SPAN 2 has recorded more than 43,830 hours of Senate sessions that span the spectrum of political views, policy debates, and personal testimony, including more than 169,000 speeches. It has documented more than 23,439 roll call votes, providing a live testimonial of Senate decision-making. Its coverage helps hold elected officials accountable to our constituents who are able to see every roll call vote as it actually happens. And it just so happens on C-SPAN's 2 inaugural day on June 2nd, 1986, I took my turn as presiding officer during the Senate session. I also delivered remarks to introduce a bill on human rights and free speech, issues that involved protesters outside of the then Soviet embassy here in Washington, D.C. Thanks to C-SPAN, Americans can watch history unfold before their very eyes. As an advocate for civil engagement and transparency, I applaud C-SPAN's commitment to chronicling democracy in action here in the Congress. In fact, for more than 20 years, I've pushed to allow cameras into the federal courthouses, including the Supreme Court, to foster a better understanding of the federal judiciary and its role in our system of checks and balances and in resolving legal disputes. Keeping C-SPAN cameras rolling here in Congress keeps lawmakers accountable to our constituents by providing a valuable conduit for civic engagement and civic education. As James Madison wrote in 1822, after he had been president 10 years before, no, I better say 6 years before, some 35 years after he helped write the Constitution, he had this to say, quote, "A popular government without popular information or the means of acquiring it is but a prologue to a farce or tragedy, or perhaps both. Knowledge will forever govern ignorance, and people who mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with the power which knowledge gives." End of Madison's quote. C-SPAN helps arm Americans with knowledge in real time and a refreshing nonpartisan lens. In this era of civil discord and polarization, C-SPAN serves the public interest, not a partisan agenda. I encourage my colleagues to support our bipartisan resolution that Senator Klobuchar and I have introduced. And I'll finish with another James Madison, as he noted, "An engaged and educated citizenry is necessary to advance the public good and secure the longevity of our republic." I yield the floor.